Hey guys, welcome. This is Beatriz Vieira. I'm your host from Sex in Toronto City, your podcast. Today, I'm here with Sandy Gerber, and I have the pleasure and welcome her. Sandy Gerber is a multiple award-winning author, communication and marketing strategist, and TEDx speaker. She is the author of Emotional Magnetism. That's why I wanted to share with you guys today because I'm in love with her book. And I'm in love with her story. And I thought I wanted to share it with you guys. Sandy, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here. I love what you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank you so much. I think it's so important to men and women, everybody that is there, like human beings, to relate to this amazing book. And on your book, when I start to read, I'm so passionate about it because I was reading and I was devouring, and I was like, this woman, she's so normal. She has her heart broken. She had dreams to have like a very happy marriage, and then it didn't work. Try a second time. So thank you so much for being here and being in this place where you're gonna share your story. So let's talk about a little bit how you start with this book, Sandy.
Sure. Happy to. Yeah, I mean, this is something everybody can relate to, right? We want to have, since we're little, we want to have this beautiful relationship. We want it to last a lifetime. And that's not really the reality, right? That's not what happens. Certainly not in my life.
Unfortunately, not in mine either.
So, this was a journey. This was a 10-year journey. This is not something I did to make money or to make it part of a business. This was a passion project of mine, because I really had a calling. Like, I'll tell you what happened. And you've read the book, so you kind of know, but your listeners who haven't, I'll give them a picture of it. So essentially what happened was I got married, and then I got married again because the first marriage ended like 4 months later. Who
has not been there? Like,
right? So I was still writing thank you notes, and he said, marriage isn't really my deal. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy. It's embarrassing. It's horrific. Anyone that's gone through any of that, it's a
we feel like we have been felt life.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. You feel like a failure, right?
Yeah.
And it's a spectacle, and it's obvious to everybody, right? So everybody knows. So that makes it even more painful. So then the second time you go into a relationship after that, you're thinking, okay, I did this wrong, or he did that wrong, or she, or whomever you're with. At that time, you're thinking, okay, I'll do it better. And so I went into another relationship with a high school sweetheart. We married, we had children, we were happy for a while, and then we were not. And without going into the details here to give him, privacy as well, It was unhealthy. And so I left the marriage as a single mom, 2 little toddlers. And really my family was across Canada. I had no one. And it was a horrible, horrible, dark time.
I know. I was reading your book and I felt so close to you. Like, I really felt like we were friends reading your book, like by friends of the pain, friends of the frustrations, because I went through the same thing that you were saying in your book, that you call trying to co-parenting in a healthy way. And then there was a lot of arguments. There was like a frustration because you're not being heard.
That's right. And, that's the worst part for me. Was not only was that frustrating, it was like, it was really bad because my kids were seeing me say nasty things to him, their father, and that's not helpful. And that's not a nurturing environment you want your children in. Yeah. And worst, the worst thing, Beatrice, is that I had in the day job, I was a marketing and communications expert. I mean, I had that on my card. So I kind of felt like a fraud because by day I was doing really well, but at night I couldn't have a conversation with my co-parent. So this is where this all came about. And I'm an oriented, like after reading the book, what I'm motivated by, but I needed to find a solution. I had to find a way to make this better for my family, right? And so I started looking, I started searching, I started researching, and that took about 8 years. And I read every self-development book, every marketing book, every communication book. I mean, you've been there.
I feel like we are the same, like,
well, and that's one of the best ways.
Label.
Yeah, like that's the best way to get out of a funk, I found, is when I'm really, because you feel stuck, then learn something new and you feel like, okay, there's some optimism there, there's some hope. So I did a lot of reading. I mean, literally the whole shelves, everything. My library was huge. And
do you ever felt like in this process, like because I do that too, right? I go through like tons of books and just listen to coaches, And I'm like in my head, because it's been like 9 years, my last relationship, like a serious relationship. And I feel like I'm never gonna find the right person to understands me, to be
Yes,
compatible with me. Do you ever feel like that in the process that you're
I
doing this?
really did. I mean, that was the biggest piece. And that's why when I finally stumbled across this one book, Roy Garn's The Magic Power of Emotional Appeal, I went a little bit more academic. I started digging through like the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, because good information doesn't get old. It just gets
Mm-hmm.
repurposed.
Mm-hmm.
And I found this emotional appeal technique. And when I read that in his book, which was a little difficult to read, but when I read it, I remember I was sitting on my second used couch, and the little kids had gone to bed, and I poured myself a glass of red wine, and I was like reading this book, and I devoured it in one sitting. And right after that, I realized, oh my gosh, I know why I make the choices I do in my life. I know why I haven't succeeded in the past relationships. And I know why I make the choices in my career, in my parenting, and hobbies. And so it was really at that point where I'm like, there was hope. I thought, you know what? I have to understand myself first, understand what I emotionally need to be happy
Mm-hmm.
before you can be with anyone else. And you hear that in some self-development books, but you kind of go, I don't really want to do all that work, right?
Yeah.
This wasn't work. I knew immediately after I read
There's
it.
a lot of people that lack of this information, like they don't know really what they need or what their emotional magnets are.
That's right.
Or I sometimes ask, because I just learned that a few years ago with reading so much in my love language, because we do have like 5 love language. And I really wanted to talk a lot about your book today, because it is like an amazing book. I was like
Thank you.
reading and I was like, wow, I want everybody to read this book. It's like, seriously, I'm not saying that because, but it's really reliable. It is something that you feel connected, is real. You're being vulnerable when you talk. There is no like, you be transparent 100% there in your story. And I think it takes so much courage to go to that place.
I think it's important. Like I'd read a lot of books, but you don't really connect with an author until they really share who they are. And, I failed twice and I was still struggling as a parent. And even though I was looking successful every day to marketing.
You being the winner, you have like lots of prizes.
Yeah, I have lots of awards and all that stuff,
Yeah.
right? But the thing is that none of that matters. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You want to be loved and you want to be in a relationship. And I just was determined to figure out how to do that. And so this book came about where I found this information and I thought, I remember the day so solidly that it was like the next day I had an employee, it was new business. And I said to her, I tried to kind of tell her what I learned and I stumbled quite a bit, but she was able to understand a little bit more about herself. And I thought, wait a minute, there's something here. And I still get shivers thinking about it. Like I can help people, right? And that's what we're here to do, really, at the end of the day, is help people. So I just started working on it. Now, this was a journey because I had a full-time job. I had 2 little kids. So when they'd go to bed, I'd write. And when they'd, be at their dad's, I'd write. And
that was your therapy, I guess.
It was very therapeutic, very cathartic. And at that point, it slowly started coming together. And then, now, I have this book that's a tool to help people improve their communication in their relationships. And it really is all about, I wanted it to be easy for people and I wanted them to be able to understand themselves really quickly.
I have a mark page here that I wanted to read with you and everybody that is listening to us. And it says here, right in chapter, on the page 4, first chapter, we attract or repel people based on whether we understand their needs, and most importantly, if we are able to express that understanding in our communication with them. That's powerful.
It's really what emotional magnetism is. I mean, I think the thing is, we must understand what we emotionally need to be happy and what others in our life emotionally need to be happy. And then we can give that to them. Like, I'll give you an example. When I went on my first date, right, with Chris, who's my love of my life now, been together 8 years. I never thought it would happen. It will happen. For all of you listening that don't think it's going to happen, it happens. Figure out what your emotional magnets are, share them with the people that you just met or know or love, and it will change your life.
How do we do that without coming out across kind of weird? Because Some people that doesn't have the habit or the understanding to, like, I don't know, in the same, because sometimes we are attracted to different people that is like more into sports, or people not like a big reader and into psychology or self-development. How I come across and say, yeah, do you know, my safety and magnetism, my emotional magnetism safety.
Yeah. One of the things is, like, here's an example. Chris is, he was not a self-development reader. He's not going to read nonfiction. You don't tell people what to do. You just share your learning. And that's what people want to learn about themselves. I mean, we find ourselves the most interesting people in the world, right? So we want to learn more about ourselves. So I was on a date with Chris. It was our first date. I remember it. It's in the book, the story, but we were having fish and chips. And I remember saying to him, okay, so this is what you're signing up for, right? Like, on the first date, I was like, I am driven by achievement and I'm driven by experience. And they're the emotional magnets. And that's what you're signing up for. That's what this looks like. And I explained it. And I said to him, what about you? What do you emotionally need to be happy? And wouldn't that be amazing to have as a first conversation? Oh, yeah. It just opens up vulnerability, opens up truth and honesty. And he told me he was safety and value, and was easy for him to understand and decipher his. And ever since then, we've just honored each other's emotional magnets, and it makes us really connected because of that.
Wow. And it's so good, because a lot of people conversation go towards sex. Like, a lot of people is like, oh, this girl is hot, and this guy's hot, like you mentioned in your book too, like people in the dating world. And what does really make you swipe them right or left, right? Another part here that you say is, like, you might be familiar with the overwhelming predicament of not being able to communicate productively in your personal life. But in Apply Principle outline in this book, you will be able to increase personal intimacy and strengthen the bonds of your relationship. Like, this is true. Like, so many overwhelming feelings because you cannot express properly what you're feeling.
That's right.
I mean, I was like reading. There's so many parts that I put a rear right here.
You got lots highlighted. That's great.
Yes, that's because conflict often stems from poor communication. You may likely end up in a conflict if you feel misunderstood.
That's the thing. You think about how much we communicate, right? And even in the past years, we've learned there's so many more ways to communicate, but we haven't necessarily communicated better. So, the thing is, you need to communicate. Even if you are fighting, you have to resolve it through communication. So it's really important that this is a skill we're not taught in school. It should be. Yeah. And I've actually had people who've read the book say, can you please teach this at school? Right? Because
that would be amazing. Yeah, that would be amazing. Like, if you would even do like emotional magnetism for kids.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, so they can understand and really, I know there's little, because I work with kids, I know there's little books for kids that show them emotions, etc., etc. But when it comes in certain grades, they don't have anymore that really go deeper to talk about their emotions, and that's so important.
Well, and you think about any teenager. I mean, I had 2 teenagers there. They're emotional magnets. Your emotional magnets change over time, right? So it depends on your life experience. It depends what struggles you've had, how you were brought up. But teenagers, I mean, they're predominantly motivated by achievement, right? It's all about recognition of their peers and all that. And then you start to see them slowly change into their own unique emotional magnets. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. So after that, in your book, you even have like a quiz, which I did it. I went through, and my strongest emotional magnet is safety.
How did that feel for you? Did it make sense when you went through it?
Yeah, it does make sense. And I was like, wow, I really like to be in this like safe place, not change too much in my routine. If it changes, it irritates me. I don't like it. I don't like last minute change. Like, I hate that.
And so what's really key about understanding that about yourself is that, okay, that's who you are. That's what you emotionally need to be happy. And so whomever in your life, whether it's a partner, whether it's family member, once you say that to them, they understand, they have more empathy for you. So here's an example. My twin sister, she's motivated by safety, and I am motivated by achievement and experience. So when we want to go do something, she needs to have the plan. Like there's no winging it, right? Like I could go, hey, let's just spontaneously go here. And she'd be like, that's not happening, right? And that could just start a little rift between people. People fight over these little things.
Yeah.
So knowing that she needs to have a plan, knowing that she needs to have structure, I can say to her, okay, the day before, the week before, hey, you know what? I'd love to go do this thing. What do you think about it? Gives her enough time to plan. And now I have empathy for her decisions and what she emotionally needs. So it's just being mindful and knowing more about the people in your life. You can, people say they read the book and people's names pop into their head like popcorn, right? Because all of a sudden it probably happened to you, right? Where you're like, oh my gosh, that's my mom, my sister, my, you know, whomever. And you kind of have this more, you have way more empathy and understanding for them. They are who they are and they need what they need. And once you have that healthy conversation with them, it just opens up so much honesty and authenticity. It's amazing.
It is. And then you said here, discovering your communication blocker. Can we kind of go through that?
Oh, sure. Yeah. This was a big one for me. So, and I'm guilty of using them. There's 16 different ways that we block communication with people, and we don't even know we're doing it, right? So when we're talking to someone, we are thinking in our head and having a whole bunch of conversation there too, right? So we're like, what's the next question? How did that sound? What, you know, like anything like that. And you can also, there's 16 of these blockers. When you read through them, they're really quick for you to say, oh, I use that. That's why it stopped a conversation.
Yeah.
So here's an example of one that I use in the book. There's a lot. But one example is, you know, when I went out with a girlfriend of mine and I was going through a tough time and I just lost my parents. They died 6 months between each other. It's a horrible time. And yeah, after reading the book, you know how much my family means to me. So it was a tough time. And I was looking forward to that gal time, you know, where you can sit down and just be yourself and cry and just share. And so she came to the dinner and she started with, you know, oh, I'm so sorry you went through all this. And I said, yeah, it's been terrible. And then she went on to a 20-minute monologue about her and her uncle and her cousin and someone else that she knew. And it made her story happen. And so that's identifying. That's one of the blockers called identifying. And we do it a lot because we think it's going to build connection, but what it does is actually stop it. Because when she finished and came up for air after talking about her story and interrupting mine, I didn't want to talk about it anymore, right? So these are the things that you need to pay attention to. And again, we aren't taught this. I found it out by researching and looking into all these things. And I picked the things that I thought were most important for people to know, right? And we're never going to get it 100% right, but just awareness of knowing what you're doing here is really, really good.
Now that you wrote this book and everything, when you meet new people, right? Because I'm like that. I'm reading in a book. I didn't wrote the book. I'm just reading. And then I absorb all the information, all the knowledge. Then I meet new people. I'm in my head like, I'm not sure if I want to continue to befriend this person because this person is not being respectful in this area, this area, this area. And does that happen to you? Like that you try to kind of guide them or?
No, I think the thing is, what I do is I ask questions, right? So the best way, I mean, I'm naturally curious anyways. I'm like a 3-year-old, seriously. I ask why to everything, but I like to understand about people. And so I ask questions. And when you ask questions, you build a connection with people. The quickest way to make someone like you is to ask them a question, right? To connect with them, right? And then you can make up your mind whether, you know, these people fit into your world or not, right? It all depends on circumstances. But I think the thing is, when we read these books, we have a tendency to go to all our friends and say, oh, you got to do this and you got to learn this. And that's okay. It's just about sharing it, sharing what you learned from it. And then they'll do what they need to do, right?
Yeah, it's so amazing because and still again on this particular page, you're saying all the communication blockers, and one of them that came up to me was the mind reading and the filtering. You just hear what you want. Send the solutions.
Yes, that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a really big one. So sending solutions is, and you probably have someone in your world, in your center of influence that does this, and they don't do it to be negative. They're just doing it. That's what they think you need. So that's when you're having a conversation with someone and you're probably having a difficult time, or you're upset about something, and all of a sudden they give you the solution. They're like, oh, you know what you need to do? You need to do this. Or, oh, hey, I had a friend that did this, right? And so what it does is it stops your communication of what you're sharing, and they're trying to solve a problem that you haven't asked them to solve. So it's something that happens. But the trouble is, I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing. I wrote this book. There's 16 communication blockers. Most people who read it say, wow, I've done a few of these. Like there's no one that can say they haven't. But now that you're aware of it, it's helpful, right?
Exactly. I like the other one that you say, influencing or manipulating versus manipulating as well.
Yeah, those are really well used as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the next project for you now that you are accomplished? Like your love life seems to be on track. It took you a little while to, get to this place, and I'm happy that you did it. I think a lot of women out, and men, I hope men too. I hope men feel that way too, right?
Yeah, I have a lot of men readers. They like, this is universal, right? We need to learn how to communicate better to the people in our life, at work and at home.
Exactly. If you were to give like the most valuable tip today for them that are looking to connect to people, really, really, get this relationship going, because I think for people that are looking for really deepest intimacy, true love, we want that. We all want it. Some people say, oh, no, I don't want it. This is not for me in the cards, but deep inside, they want that.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Right. What would it be like your biggest tip, or, what is the word? I'm trying to find the word in English now. Advice.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I'd say is, first of all, figure out what you emotionally need. Like, it sounds really trite. It sounds really simple. It is simple. Like, all you got to do is take a few minutes to either read this book or do the quiz or talk to someone who's read it. Go online. There's lots of resources on my site and stuff, but basically figure out what it is. There's 4 emotional magnets, and you have one of them that's driving your life.
Can you name them, please?
Yeah. So safety, achievement, value, and experience. And so think of the acronym SAVE, because it saves your relationship, right? So, and you think about it like a 4-lane highway, right? So you've got 4 lanes, and all of us are driving in different lanes. And we predominantly stay in one lane, one of those emotional magnets. Sometimes we swerve and go between the two, but we mostly are driven by one of those emotional needs. So once you figure out what that is, whether it's safety, achievement, value, or an experience, I tell you all about that in the book, and also there's some scenarios so that it makes it really relatable. Once you figure that out, go and share it with people in your life, because they'll understand why you finally do the things you do, right? Like, this just this huge eye-opening experience for you and your entire family and your friends. So that's the first thing I'd say is absolutely, I call this, I'm creating a love train here, because the more of us that understand what we emotionally need and share that with the people in their life, we're creating more love, right? And we're creating more acceptance. And boy, does the world ever need that right now.
Yes.
So join the love train, right? And read the book, listen to the audiobook, understand what you emotionally need first, and then share that with the people that you are going to spend time with. Right?
And not be afraid to verbalize, because I feel like a lot of people are still afraid to verbalize what they really want and what they really need, just because they're afraid of judgment or a misperception, of themselves in the wrong way.
Yeah, anything like this takes a little bit of courage, but I'll tell you, it will really free your mind. Like, it just gives you this amazing sense of empathy for others, and also freedom and acceptance by the people who love you, right? So it's a really healthy conversation to have, and fun, because once you do it, and it's easy. If people don't want to read a book, then just go online and do the quiz, and you'll at least have more information about why you're making the choices you do. I mean, the things that I've done in my life, I can go back to every single thing and say, okay, now I understand why I did that, right? I'm motivated by experience and achievement. So I'll leave you with the last story here. Like my husband to be, we're getting married next August. Yeah, it's super exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really fun. So he came home on a Friday night and he wants to just like chill out, right? He wants to kick off his shoes. He wants to sit on the couch and he wants to watch the same Netflix series that he watched all week, right? So it's very predictable, very structured. He's motivated by the magnets, the emotional magnets of safety and value. So that's what he wants to do. And me, I'm driven by experience and achievement. So I'm like, hey, let's go check out the new restaurant, or let's go have a new experience or play a new game, that kind of thing. And so we have to compromise, right? We have to figure out, we know what each other wants. Now we need to find out something that's going to make both of us happy. So what we'll typically do is, turn that evening into something else, right? So either I give him a heads up that, hey, on Friday, I'm thinking about us going to a restaurant. It gives him time to process it.
Oh, yeah.
Or, he agrees to do some kind of new game or watch a new series on Netflix or something, right? That's new for me because I'm driven by experience. I need new. And then meanwhile, he could play his game for a little while and I can go down some rabbit holes on the internet looking for like who invented soap or something. So these are the things. Once you understand what each other needs, the whole point of a good relationship is that compromise, and is to make sure you're always making the other person feel that their emotional needs are met. So
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a ride. It's so exciting.
Wow, congratulations. And do we have another book coming up? Because I
am working on another. Yes,
I want so much to listen to more.
I am working on another one. I have been asked to do one specifically for the workplace, like what's like to work with people, because this comes into place. And I've also been asked to do one about kids. And I'd love to do one about kids because I really relate well with children. So I think that age, like you were talking about earlier, between, grade 5 and grade 9 is a time where is really vulnerable for young people. And I think that would be an awesome time to introduce something like this.
Absolutely. I think like, especially also like when they go to transition from 12 to, 18, even 12 to 18. I have a son, he's gonna be 11 now, and I see how he speak, and sometimes he's afraid of telling his friends how he feels and whatever, because he don't want to like them to be thinking, oh, James, he's so sensitive, or so it's so important to get those tools for kids so they don't create the shell on their personality and buckle up, and in one moment they try to get out in other ways, like by anger or by violence, and that's not the way.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, we all label everybody, right? So, and that starts early, and we even label ourselves, right? Oh, you're being too sensitive, you're being lazy, you're a workaholic. That all has to do with what you emotionally need, right? And so once we understand that, those labels go away, and it's really freeing. Yeah, so it would really help people at a younger age as well.
Wow, Sandy, thank you so much.
Thank you
for you being here today and sharing your story. Like I said, we think it's an easy thing to do, but being in your shoe, going through the same process of marriage, and I am not yet in the process of like I have my love or whatever. I'm still in the process of journey of like trying to find the right person and settle, but talking to the world about that in a book, and you being so real. And I really want to invite everybody to read her book, Emotional Magnetism. And it looked like that. I didn't finish yet. I'm still reading because my time consuming is too much with I have my daughter in Montreal, kids here, work, podcast, everything. But I'm reading little by little, and I am so amazed like to learn. I wanted to say thank you so much for you to give everybody, including me, the opportunity to get to know my magnetism, and get to know myself better and have a better relationship with me, and help me to communicate this with other people too.
Oh, it was my absolute pleasure. I mean, it's as I said earlier, it's a passion project. I don't do this for a living. I do it to help people. And I know that, it helped my children, they're teens now, late teens. It helped their friends. It helped everyone that's touched it. Joining the love train kind of thing. Basically, that's what it's doing. It's creating more love in the world. And that's an absolute privilege. So thank you so much for having me on the show. And if anyone wants more information, they can check out my site, sandygerber.com. And the book's available audiobook as well. I actually like the audiobook better because it's got even more of my personality, and I had a little more fun talking through it. And so, yeah, that's an option for people as well.
Absolutely. Sandy, thank you so much. Guys, thank you for being here and listening to the podcast. My name is Beatriz Vieira, and this is Sandy Gerber. And as we said, her book is available in all platforms, I assume?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you can check her out on Instagram as well as Sandy Gerber, and send her a little message if you have any questions, anything about her book, or check her website as she mentioned before. Do you want to repeat for them?
Yeah, it's sandygerber.com.
There you go. And then you
Thanks very much.
Please do the quiz and then let us know. Leave a comment below. If you don't follow us yet, please follow us and leave your comments. Thank you so much. I'm grateful for you being here. Until next time.